Hello and welcome to another Purveyor of Light Photoshop quick tip. Today we're going to turn around and have a little more creative fun building on last week's. I had a viewer come in and ask a question, or give me a challenge actually. Said, I like these creative videos. Could you do a creative poster using only the polar coordinates? And I thought about that. I said, okay, that'll be interesting. And I have to admit, I don't use polar coordinates very often, so it should be a challenge. All right, so I've selected this photo here, and I said this would be a good base for our poster, our raw lot. And so let's jump in here. First thing I want to do is I want to isolate the subject. So I'm going to hit select subject. And then from there, I'm going to put a mask on it. And that gives us the isolation of the subject matter all by itself on its own. All right. So with that done, selecting on the person, I want to use polar coordinates because I don't have a lot of options, right? I have to work with what pixels are on the canvas. I'm going to take a rectangle tool and I'm going to try to select as much of her colors in her outfits as I can. Okay, and within a rectangular area. And so I've got a slight sliver there of a selection. Okay. And I'm going to hit Command and Control J, and that's going to put that sliver up on its own layer. And you can see right there, we have a sliver of that. These are going to be harmonious colors, obviously. They're going to go with her outfit, and so they're going to work automatically together with using polar coordinates. All right, so I am now going to, on that layer, hit Command and Control T. I'm going to hold the Shift key down so I can actually distort the picture, and I'm going to stretch it out. And I'm going to do that across the entire canvas. When I have that, I hit Enter, and I'm committed there, and I have my color palette that I'm going to use for this polar coordinate. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to actually call up the polar coordinates. So I'm going to go up to Filter, and it's normally under distort, and you notice I don't see distort here. And that's because Adobe, a couple versions back, has decided that hiding menus was something to do, and you have to hit all menu items. And now you can see distort. I think it's kind of frustrating because sometimes we're sitting there going through menus looking for something, and we don't see it, and then we don't think that, that Adobe's maybe hiding it from us. So I don't necessarily like that. But anyhow, so go to Distort, and then here's Polar Coordinates. All right, so we're going to select that. And basically this is very simple. I have two choices. I can go from rectangular to polar, or polar to rectangular. And since I have a rectangular selection, I'm going to go rectangular to polar and hit OK. And there we are. We have our polar coordinates, and we now have a nice color palette, and we can work with this. Command and Control T, and I'm going to hold the Shift key down again because I want a free transform to distort, and I'm going to stretch this out to fit my canvas nice. And make it a little more circular, drop a little height a little bit. And I think that's pretty good right there. And I'll hit Enter. All right, so now we have our polar coordinate platelet set up into a nice cool wave. We've got the subject isolated. So I can bring this up and I can drag this up so it's above there so you can see what we're going for. It's looking pretty good now. But we need to put some finishing touches on this. So I'm going to select the wave area here of the polar coordinates, and I'm going to hit a mask button, put a mask on that layer. And now what I want to do is I want to turn around and make this seem to be more of a piece of her or an actual physical backdrop of her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove a portion of it, and I'm going to mask it out, basically. And so we're on a white mask. So if I paint in black, it's going to conceal something, right? So white reveals, black conceals. And so now we're going to, we'll just take a paintbrush, and I'm going to make it a very hard brush. If it's not, I want 100% hardness. All right. And I'm going to click here once, come down, and then I'm going to hold the shift key down, and that's going to give me a nice straight cut through there. Same thing through here. I will click and then hold the shift key down, and gives me a nice clean cut. All right. And then I can turn around and come in and clean all this out. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. And I'm thinking here we're going to, let's see here. Going to put a drop shadow on the subject. So select the subject layer, and I'm going to hit the FX panel down here, and I'm going to come down into drop shadow. Okay. And I want to, not too hard of a harsh shadow, so I'm going to go with the 10 and 10. That's looking pretty good. So I'll turn that on and off. You can see how much dimension that adds to it, which is nice. Do I want it with global light? I think that's pretty good. We'll hit that with a look. Okay, so we're coming right along here. To get this thing to look a little bit better, let's put a background on this this image. So coming all the way down to the bottom, down to the panel here. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Dink. We're going to come down and we're going to hit a adjustment layer, pull down, and I'm going to do a gradient. All right. And then from the gradient, I'm going to pick a color, and which will harmonize with this. This purple doesn't look too bad. All right, so I'll select it, then I'll drag it around the thing. That's not too bad. And let's see here. I'm never satisfied, you know, but just seeing how curiosity. Maybe a blue. I will go with this one for now. We'll go with this. What is this one called? Okay. We'll go with that. And that's not looking too bad. And then I just want to turn around and give this thing a little more realism. And realism, I would probably go with maybe putting a shadow here down at the bottom, so this would actually look like it's a 3D image. So in order to do that, there's a little trick, okay? I just want you to take a black to white palette, okay? So make sure you're on black, painting in black. Make sure you're with the paintbrush. Make sure your softness is about 54, and your opacity maybe 50% opacity. All right, and then with the brush, I got to go on a layer here that I can paint on. With a brush, 50% capacity, and I will just turn around and okay. I'm trying to undo what I did because I realized I was on the wrong layer. All right. I'm going to go plus with the new layer, and then I'm just going to do with the paint with the black. And that's what I was trying to do in the first place. See, we all human, we all make mistakes. All right, so now that I'm on a new layer and I just made a blotch, all right, now what I'm going to do is Command and Control T on that blotch. And this is where I'm going to hold the Shift key down, do some distortion, okay? And then I'm going to crunch it way down, okay? And then I'm going to move it down here and enter, and I will drop the opacity down. So maybe about there. And that gives us the illusion that it's on the ground with a shadow. And, okay. So lastly here, we put some finishing touches on it. We'll use a little bit of font here and, we'll highlight this, and we'll use the scrubbies and just pull it over. Put it into place. And let's change the color to maybe a white. Good enough. We'll put a drop shadow on this. And that looks pretty good. And so there we go. I think that's pretty good. So we just did a poster using nothing more than polar coordinates. And I think it didn't turn out too bad. So there we go. Hopefully you picked up a couple new techniques, or at least maybe I stimulated some of your creative juices, and now you can go ahead and make something creative on your own. All right, guys. Till next week, you guys take care.